And in conclusion, I want to talk to my sister Nyaugenya, Honorable Beth Mugo. We have gone through the trenches with you. You know how, when governments are in power, how they behave. I think probably you can give people on the other side a little education. That sometimes revolutions eat their own children. Yes. Government eats their own people. This government is going to punish you more than they will punish me. I'm telling you, in another 1 year, you will be crying in my office to come and represent you. I know, I can tell you. I've appeared for President Kibaki when he was in the opposition about laws which were made here. I've appeared for President Uhuru and Vice President Ruto when Kanu was going away. When Kibaki was taking away his members and making them ministers, I went to court on their behalf. But now that they're in power, they are forgetting. And power, when power gets into your head, I can tell you, you will never remember that one day there's a bigger power, almighty, that will deal with you.
Revolution eats its own children. James Orengo warned some 4 years ago. It cannot be explained even using a simple diagram how the youths that William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza leaders spoke to in Mount Kenya before the 2022 general election were voters. But how fast has the hustlers turned to the Mungiki patriots? Welcome to the bold analysis. The women leaders from Mount Kenya are exchanging words in public about some imaginary Mungiki threat that was initiated by elected women leaders from the region. And the fight has escalated between the elected women leaders and other leaders, women leaders who are not elected. And this is because Ruto's Gema J-Riders cannot stand the rebellion that is happening there. But at what cost? Someone asked. The women issued a press briefing, and it all started here.
By sowing seeds of division and mistrust amongst neighbors and communities. The fear of reprisal prevented people from speaking out against Mungiki's criminal activities. This created a climate of silence that allowed the organization to flourish unchecked, blossoming into a fully fledged threat to national security, especially during the NAC administration. In the year 2002, more than 50 people were killed when Mungiki clashed with matatu owners in Nairobi, leading to the burning of the sect the same year. In February 2003, the sect clashed with police in Nairobi for 2 consecutive days, leaving at least 2 officers dead and 74 of its members imprisoned. In June 2007, the Mungiki sect started a wave of murders aimed at instilling fear on the populace by beheading several matatu drivers, conductors, and perceived traitors to the diabolical cause. They recruited people by force, and if one refused to join their illegal terror gang, they would also be beheaded forthwith. This orchestrated an armed response from the Kenyan security forces, who in an operation stormed Mathare area in Nairobi, leaving over 100 people dead in the aftermath. On the 12th July the same year, the sect split into 2 groups, leading to the gunning down of the chairman and treasurer of the Kenya National Youth Alliance at Uplands Larry in Kiambu County.
We remember the fear, the terror, we remember the pain. Mungiki perpetrated such atrocities, including but not limited to: 1. Forced female genital mutilation; 2. Raping of women and girls at the time in full glare of their very family members; 3. Intimidation and extortion in public transport; 4. Intimidation and extortion of construction businesses; 5. Intimidation and imposition of illegal taxes on farmers and households; 6. Mindless violence and killings; 7. Drugs and the wastage of an entire generation; and many other issues and illegalities.
If you realize, when they were speaking, they're just giving history of Mungiki. They don't seem to have a statement. They don't seem to have a statement about Mungiki. What they have is just a history. And that is why I think they're getting it wrong. Kindly. Why, when you'll see that it was very intentional, when the discussion about some imaginary Mungiki was actually brought forth, it had to be initiated by this group. It was initiated by this group of leaders. So ladies and gentlemen, let's just do some good fact checking. And I just want to do good fact checking here. Just some last month, there was a list that was released by the intelligence about notorious gangs that are terrorizing Kenyans. And that list that was highly publicized by, that was published in different newspapers in this country, did not list Mungiki as one of the emerging gangs. If you can look at that, if you can look at this this screenshot. Ruto reveals 13 dangerous gangs in Kenya in report to parliament. Out of this, if you read that article, Mungiki was not mentioned as any of those gangs. And they went to an extent of asking the Interior Security CS, Kithure Kindiki, to rain on those leaders, to rain on allegedly that gang, even using live bullets. Now, Moses Kuria then came and took a direct swipe, responding to asking Kindiki that he should ignore the talk of using live bullets on the alleged Mungiki groupings. We have also seen women leaders, and I think I have the tweet that was done by Moses Kuria, if I'm not wrong. I want to read it for you here, because he responded in this tweet saying, President William Ruto is a staunch believer in the rule of law and constitutionalism. Dear Professor Kithure Kindiki, kindly refuse the shoot to kill request by Mount Kenya elected women leaders. Everyone, even suspected Mungiki, deserves fair trial and presumption of innocence. Muchuki was right in many ways, but not on this one. So this was a response by Moses Kuria. And remember, Kindiki is yet to give any statement on this. So after that, we saw another response from the Jubilee wing, women leaders, and also another grouping that allegedly, I understand, is more inclined towards Mama Ngina. And that probably is it. But I want to explain this purely and make a very passionate appeal here. That it is very cool, and of course, it is very normal for politicians to counter narratives, and of course to manage their political constituencies. But there are some that touches on security that we must be very sensitive on. The matter of Mungiki is very sensitive, and it touches on security. And just like another women leader said there, bring evidence, show us leaders, show us homes, women that have been raped or rather attacked or even robbed by any Mungiki caucus. Just show us. So you see the way it's happening. Now I understand, and I was trying to talk to some few fellows around that are so much acquainted with the Mount Kenya politics, because it's been a while. I think when I want to analyze Mount Kenya politics, I have a few of my friends here that I call and ask on what exactly is about this. And someone is telling me that there are some activities that are currently going on that are going on. One is that Kamwene, that is spearheaded by Martha Karua. And Martha Karua has also revived the NAK Kenya party activities. And there are some activities that are also being done by Jubilee Party and the Mama Ngina under the foundation. So it is understood that there is some sort of political mobilization, there is some mobilization that is going on Martha Karua and Mama Ngina axis. And because the new model of mobilization that is going on is that the revolt that is happening seems to be led by the women. Recently there was a protest in Mount Kenya, some road protest in Gatundu, some protest about a road project in Gatundu North, and the people that were leading from the front were actually women. So we understand that those who are actively even facing, those who are coming out to tell William Ruto things are bad, are actually the women leaders. So, why will this? I want to explain why this. I think even using the Mungiki to try to, and you see the people who are crafting this want to show, this is the intention. Number one, I want to show this information. For long we've been analyzing like clearly one bullet. It is the silver bullet targeting Maina Njenga, because Maina Njenga has been running a lot of activities and is believed to be threatening the political base of William Ruto in Mount Kenya. But why did they choose the women? The reason why they chose the women allegedly is to create a narrative, amongst Mount Kenya women that there are some people that are planning to hurt you using the Mungiki. And this is to show that any other leader that is aligned towards the Mungiki, and remember this is targeting Uhuru Kenyatta and the Maina Njenga axis, is that they're planning to, mobilize these groupings to attack Mount Kenya women. That is what the elected leaders are saying. But what they also don't see, the other side of it, is that they are profiling the Mount Kenya youth. And many have said, I've spoken to a few bloggers and some analysts and some very prominent fellows, some senior fellows from that region who are members of this channel that have been telling me that, Kevin, there is nothing like Mungiki. And I think someone can explain to us. There is nothing like Mungiki. What's going on is purely malicious political imaginations. It is malicious political imagination. So that it's being created to show them that you are better safe when you're with William Ruto. And I will tell you why the women are in it. But the other side of it that those fronting it are not seeing is it is going to bring animosity. Build animosity between police and the youths, because maybe there will be some genuine case where something has happened and maybe police are supposed to arrest someone. In case of an attempt, it is going to create some animosity between the police and the youths. Number two, they are suppressing robust political engagement. Robust political engagement that is going on in Mount Kenya. And that political dispensation is very lively and is very, it's going to be a very good discussion for the region, and especially to reap from Mount Kenya. I say, if you see the youth in Mount Kenya and the women revolting, and so you want to suppress that revolt, you want to suppress that political dispensation, simply because of your political benefits, then there's that which you are losing, because you are losing the eye of government. If people are revolting in Mount Kenya, William Ruto will rush there, and they're losing that attention. So if it is alleged to target Mungiki machineries on Ruto, women are the ones that are captured. And remember, the reason why the target is initiated on the women is because when William Ruto entered Mount Kenya, the first place he went to was the church. And when he went to the church, he created the church network and used the women guild and the women caucuses in the churches. And after that, they were then met in the chamas and given money through the market. When he left church and went to the market centers, and also met the chamas in the market centers. So after that, then the whole hustler narrative was crafted to capture the Mount Kenya youth. And that's how the Mount Kenya was captured. So again, as fate will have its way, the group that is revolting that much is actually those women, because they're the ones that have been outplayed. Women and the youth. That group is the one that is revolting. And that is why people cannot stomach it. And if you want to know that the whole of this discussion is about suppressing a revolt, I want to read for you what Mutahi is saying. And what Mutahi is saying is very interesting, because it's a debate that I want you to hear. Dear Kikuyus, this is a tweet yesterday. Mulembe Nation is the second largest voting bloc in Kenya, and Ruto will mend fences with Raila. If they come together, you'll be out of government for 100 years. Be nice to Ruto, he has been decent to you. Take it or leave it, the end is near. So, this what Mutahi Ngunyi is telling Mount Kenya is that while Kenyans can, while Kenyans can question Ruto, Mount Kenya should not dare question Ruto, because if they question Ruto, Ruto will leave them to go for Raila. And I want to say, and I think for better part of this month of November, there's something I decided to do, that I will focus on my eye on governance. The point of departure between the People of the Republic of Kenya and William Ruto is not on personality. And that is why, Mimi, I don't support, and this is my political position, this is my personal position, I don't support the character assassination of William Ruto. Ruto is empty-headed, Ruto is stupid. I don't support that, because the point of departure is about governance. So people should not, Mutahi Ngunyi camp should not believe that Mount Kenya is wrong to question William Ruto. That if you question William Ruto will go to Western side. So if he goes to Western, if Ruto is to mend fences with Raila and he fails to address the cost of living, have they helped Raila supporters? No way. And this is best captured by Alfred Keter's response. Keter is saying, he responded to that tweet, is saying, Jipe Shughuli Mr. Know-it-all. Those tribal machinations are long gone. Kenyans are interested in issue-based politics. Kikuyus disagreed with Uhuru as a matter of principle. We as Kalenjins will disagree with Ruto on basis of poor governance. Period. That is it. Everyone in this country will disagree with Ruto on the basis of governance, not on these tribal imaginations. And I want to tell you guys, I read this book known was it An Enemy of the People. And for those who read that book, there was that Dr. Slasksen who was saying politicians have compact majority. Compact majority are the people around who tell you you'll make it. Now, there is a camp around William Ruto that cannot stomach, they cannot withstand the threat of rebellion. The imminent threat of Mount Kenya leaving William Ruto is a big headache to the political brokers and the political team around William Ruto, who will stop at nothing and are stopping at nothing to suppress any sort of rebellion. The engineered women fight, the threat of the Mungiki that has been generated by the women axis in Mount Kenya, is simply a tool being devised to suppress rebellion. However, the rebellion is purely on governance. No one is opposing William Ruto because he's a Kalenjin. No. People are just asking questions on governance because he is the man who is in charge. And this will be done to anyone. Why is Ruto's opportunists? Why is it that Ruto's opportunists cannot withstand that rebellion in Mount Kenya? I want to answer that very fast using these four reasons. Number one, these leaders, these political brokers from Mount Kenya, they just brokered a deal that between supporting Uhuru and Ruto. It was never based on the principle. I want to believe it was never based on principle. Ruto bought some of them and funded their campaigns during the last elections, and it was never based on any other principle. So they are losing the 2027 political bargain, blackmail bargain. If there is something that is going to happen, and William Ruto will know, is that before, when 2027 campaigns will reach the boiling point, Mount Kenya will demand kumi yangu, kumi yako from William Ruto. To be specific, the Rigathi axis will demand that. Now, for them to demand kumi yangu, kumi yako, for them to demand the review of power sharing formula, for them to demand on how CSS we are going to get and how the Secretary General of the party has to come from Mount Kenya and all those bargains, they must have the backing of the people. And if they lose the ground, then they lose the bargain. And that is the biggest bone of contention going on. Number two, the Mount Kenya opportunist brokers, political brokers, are fearing because they are likely to be orphaned of political incumbency. I want to tell you this. There is a way politics works in Kenya. In Kenya, you need one person from your tribe or to have a presidential candidate and be very popular. Then you have your poster, the image of the presidential candidate very big, and then you are there as the MP. So a crop of the leaders, the current crop of leaders in Mount Kenya, knows very well that they don't have another confrontational election campaign against Uhuru Kenyatta like they did, like they benefited in the last presidential election. So they would want to use Ruto incumbency. So that Ruto incumbency cannot benefit them if the people are already revolting against William Ruto. That is it. And that is the root cause of all this. Number three, this rebellion is a big threat and is giving them a headache because consummation, or they can be consumed by Uhuru Kenyatta's political forays. How about if Uhuru decides to sponsor candidates in their areas? They lose. And that is why they don't want to think about that. Lastly, this team can also be kicked out of Ruto's succession matrix. And that's what Mtaani said there, that they will be out of political leadership for another 100 years if Ruto leaves them out. If you're staying in an area that have history of flooding and the place is a bit low-lying, you can move to higher grounds because flooding is real, it's a menace. The political class and the leadership can do their bit, but it is also truth, gospel truth, that as Kenyans, we must also be responsible. The responsibility lies with you. I have seen Waziri saying, no one should drive. You should not drive in flood, in water, when it's flooding. Those are the messages that for me want to get out. And as this podcast, as this is also going on, we are also part of this society. Yes, we don't live in the moon, we live in this society. And that's why I'm also running that awareness, that kindly move to raised grounds if you can. Yes, if you can move, you can migrate, move. If you're driving and you've arrived at a place where you're seeing it's flooding, don't drive. And also, don't walk. Don't go to start walking up Mali where it's also drowning. It's also flooding. Because I understand out of 85, 37 people have lost lives. And people have just taken themselves in those floods. Though I don't want to blame the deceased. But of course, the messaging is very clear. Let's also take individual responsibility. Thank you.